Good morning, students. So today we'll talk about the last portion of chapter 7, that is control and coordination, hormones in animals. In my last lecture we talked about the movements in plants and the hormones which are responsible for various type of movements in plants. Today we'll be talking about the hormones in animals. Now hormones, what are hormones? These are certain chemicals, and these hormones, they are secreted by certain glands. Those glands which secrete these hormones, they are known as endocrine glands. So hormones are the secretion of endocrine glands. These hormones, when they are secreted directly from the gland, these hormones are poured into the blood. Let us take an example when these hormones are secreted. Now suppose there is a scary situation. Scary situation means when an animal has some fear. Say for example, when the squirrel experience a scary situation, their body have to prepared for either fighting with that situation or they have to run away from the situation. Take another example. Suppose you are passing through a jungle and all of a sudden some tiger come in front of you. So you are in a scary situation. There are two options for you. Either you have to fight with that tiger or you have to run away. So in both the situation, whether you have to fight with the animal or you have to run away very fast, your body require energy. So in both the conditions, body को energy चाहिए. Although these two situations, they are alternate activities, but for these alternate activities, your body have to be prepared with the common preparation. That means it needs energy. Now let us talk about, suppose this stimulus, it passes through the body in a form of an electric impulse, that is from the brain to various cells, then only the limited tissues are involved, because all the cells of our body may not be connected to the brain directly. So it will take time. But these hormones, they are chemicals. So if these hormones are secreted in this scary situation, then all the body cells are involved. That means these hormones which will reach to all the body cells. As I told you, these hormones, they are poured directly into the blood. So through blood, all the body cells, they experience the presence of these hormones. That means in that case, the wide range changes can take place in the body. Take for example, there is one gland, and that gland is adrenaline gland. Now in scary situation, this adrenaline gland, it secretes a hormone that is known as an adrenaline hormone. Actually the gland is known as adrenaline gland, and this adrenaline gland, that is present just above the kidney. I will show you the diagram in my last slide, that there is an adrenal gland, and this adrenal gland is situated in human just below the kidney. This adrenal gland in scary situation secrete a hormone known as an adrenaline hormone. Because this hormone is secreted in emergency condition, this hormone is also known as an emergency hormone. So एग्जाम में अगर पूछते हैं कि emergency hormone कौन सा है, तो adrenaline, which is secreted by an endocrine gland known as adrenal gland, which is situated above the kidney, is the emergency hormone. Now this hormone is also known as fight or flight hormones. Fight means you have to fight with the situation or you just fly away from that situation. So this is one example or one hormone, that is an adrenaline, and one gland is there which is known as adrenaline gland. Now हमारी body के अंदर 10 glands are there, 10 endocrine glands are there. about these 10 endocrine glands, I'll be showing you the last slide. Now, how this adrenaline, it prepares the body for a emergency. Now, this adrenaline gland, adrenaline hormone, it is poured into the blood. When it is poured into the blood, the heartbeat increases. तुमने देखा होगा कभी भी scary situation है तो तुम्हारी heartbeat increase हो जाती है. Now, when the adrenaline is secreted, our heartbeat increases. The oxygen supply to the muscle is also increases. Why? Because if you have to fight with the situation, or if you fly away from the situation, even then your muscles action is required, and the muscles action will be more fast if the oxygen supply to the muscle is more. So, the function of adrenaline is to increase the heartbeat, to increase the oxygen supply to the muscles, but the blood supply to the digestive system and the skin, that is reduced. Why? Because more blood has to enter into the heart, more blood has to enter into the muscle, because these muscles have to show the action. So, the heartbeat increases, oxygen supply to the muscle is increases, but the blood supply to the digestive system as well as to the skin, it decreases. The breathing rate also increases. Why the breathing rate increases? Because the diaphragm, which is responsible for the breathing, those muscles of the diaphragm, they move very fast. As a result, the breathing rate also increases. So, all this situation, heartbeat increase, oxygen supply to the muscle increase, the blood supply to the digestive system and the skin, it decreases, more blood supply to the muscles, increase in the breathing rate. All these conditions, they make the body to deal with the situation. They prepare the body to deal with the situation, whether it is a fight or a flight. So, this is how the hormones work. Okay. Now, we have talked about the plant hormones. The plant hormones, as I told you, they are responsible for the directional growth, like root always grow towards the soil and the stem also grow towards upper side. Similarly, in animals, the growth happens in a carefully controlled places. What does it mean by growth happens in carefully controlled places? You know, whenever the growth takes place, our body shows the growth in a particular body organs. Like हमारी fingers जो हैं, they grow. You cannot grow the fingers on the faces. That means there is a carefully growth in the children which is maintained, and for that also the hormones are responsible, right? So, the another adrenal gland, that is another endocrine gland which is situated in the neck region, that is known as a thyroid gland. Now, this thyroid gland is also an endocrine gland, so it produces a hormone. Which hormone it produces? It produces thyroxine. Now, this thyroxine hormone का जो function है, it regulates the metabolism of the nutrients. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? The metabolism of the carbohydrates, metabolism of the proteins, metabolism of the lipids in our body, that is controlled by the thyroxine. That means हमारी body का जो basic metabolic rate है, that is controlled by the thyroid gland, which secrete a hormone known as thyroxine. And you must have heard कि हमें हमेशा iodized salt खाना चाहिए. Why? Because for this thyroid gland to produce the thyroxine, the iodine is very essential, because iodine is an important constituent of the thyroxine. If there is a deficiency of iodine, the thyroxine will not be produced in a proper amount. As a result, there will be a deficiency of a thyroxine, and if there is a deficiency of thyroxine, then the goiter occurs. What is the goiter? The swelling of the adrenal gland, thyroid gland. ये जो thyroid gland neck region में है, it gets swelled. So the swelling of the thyroid gland in the neck region is known as a goiter, that is a swollen neck. I'll show you the figure of this goiter in my last slide. So this is a second hormone, and the second thyroid endocrine gland, which is a thyroid gland, which is present in the neck region and produces a hormone known as a thyroxine. The function of the thyroxine is it regulates the metabolism of all the nutrients, food nutrients, that is carbohydrate, proteins and the lipids. And for this thyroxine, iodine is very essential, because if there is a deficiency of iodine, then this thyroid gland gets swelled in the neck region. As a result, the condition is known as a goiter. Now another hormone, which are known as the growth hormones. These are the third hormones. Third hormone, that is a growth hormones, they are secreted by the master gland known as a pituitary gland. Now the location of this pituitary gland, that is in the brain. When I discussed the brain with you, I told you in the forebrain, just below the hypothalamus, there is a pituitary gland, which is a master gland. This gland secretes many hormones. One of the hormone which is secreted by the pituitary gland, they are growth hormones, and these growth hormones are responsible for the proper growth of the body of an organism right from the childhood till the adult. Suppose these growth hormones are secreted in a low amount, then the dwarfism occur. You must have seen certain dwarfs जिनकी हाइट जो है वो 3-3.5 फुट होती है. So why these dwarfs are there? Because the growth hormones are produced by the pituitary gland in less amount. Similarly, if these growth hormones, they are produced in an excessive amount, then the giantism occur. Giantism means the person is giant, abnormal joint. So these are the two abnormalities, the dwarfism and the giantism. These are the two abnormalities which occur because of excessive growth of growth hormones or less secretion of growth hormones by a endocrine gland known as pituitary gland, and this pituitary gland is situated in the brain, that is just below the hypothalamus. Now you must have seen that many changes takes place in our body during during puberty. Puberty means in females around 11 to 12 years of age, that is a puberty when certain physical changes takes place. Similarly, in boys around 12 to 13 years, many changes are seen in the boys. So these changes which are seen in male or the female during the puberty, okay, what is responsible for those changes? Again, hormones are responsible for those changes. In male, there is a hormone known as a testosterone. This testosterone is again produced, this is a hormone, so it is produced by the endocrine gland. That endocrine gland is testes. So you must be knowing that male ke andar the reproductive organ is testes. So these testes, they secrete testosterone, and this testosterone hormone is responsible for the changes which occur in the male during puberty. Similarly, in female, the ovaries, they secrete a hormone known as estrogen. Actually, two hormones are secreted in females, that is estrogen and progesterone. So estrogen and progesterone, these are the two hormones which are secreted in the female by the ovaries and are responsible for various changes which occur during the puberty. Okay. Now you must have heard that some people, they suffer from the diabetes. So तुमने देखा होगा कि शुगर नहीं खानी चाहिए डायबिटीज के लोगों को. So why the diabetes occur? Diabetes also occur because one hormone is not secreted. Which hormone? There is a hormone which is known as an insulin. So insulin is an hormone. This insulin is secreted again by a endocrine gland known as a pancreas. Now तुम कहोगे कि pancreas तो pancreatic juice भी secrete करता है. So pancreas secrete pancreatic juice also, and it secrete a hormone also. That is the reason pancreas is known as a mixed gland. It is an endocrine gland also and exocrine gland also. What are exocrine glands? Exocrine glands are the glands which secrete other secretions other than the hormones, and the hormones are secreted by endocrine glands. So pancreas secrete pancreatic juice as well as the hormone insulin. So it is an exocrine gland also and endocrine gland also. That is the reason it is known as a mixed gland. Now this insulin, the function of the insulin is to regulate the blood sugar level. हमारी बॉडी में ब्लड के अंदर शुगर लेवल शुड ऑलवेज बी मेंटेन्ड. इफ इट इज़ अ लेस then it is a dangerous, if it is more even then it is dangerous. So what regulates the blood sugar level is the insulin, right? So this insulin is secreted by the pancreas. Suppose this insulin is not secreted by the pancreas, then a disease known as a diabetes occur, and the person showing the diabetes has to take oral insulin or injectable insulin. Okay, now these are some of the endocrine glands which are there in your course, and what are the effect of those glands. So now these hormones jo hai, they are not secreted every time in our body. These hormones are secreted as and when our body requires them, like estrogen, progesterone and the testosterone. Like before that, this estrogen, progesterone and the testosterone, that is testes, they secrete testosterones, ovaries secrete the estrogen and the progesterone. These hormones are secreted as and when required during puberty. Similarly, any hormone, when we take the food, the metabolism of the food is required. So thyroid gland secrete thyroxine. So these are some of the hormones. Now in totality हमारी बॉडी के अंदर 10 endocrine glands है. Now you have to remember the location of these 10 endocrine glands. What are those 10 endocrine glands? Out of those 10 endocrine glands, 3 glands are situated in the brain. So this is a brain. ब्रेन के अंदर 3 एंडोक्राइन ग्लैंड्स है. कौन कौन सी एंडोक्राइन ग्लैंड है? वन इज हाइपोथैलेमस विच इज सिचुएटेड इन द फोर ब्रेन. In this chapter only we talked about the hypothalamus, which is a part of our forebrain. So hypothalamus is an endocrine gland. It secretes certain hormones. Then in the forebrain only one small gland is there which is known as a pineal gland. So pineal gland also secrete a hormone which is known as a melatonin. Okay, you don't have to go into the detail of the hormone of pineal gland, but you have to remember that brain के अंदर 3 endocrine glands है. One is hypothalamus, other is pineal gland, third is the pituitary gland. And I told you pituitary gland secrete even growth hormone. This pituitary gland secrete many other hormones, but in your course the hormone which is there is growth hormone. So growth hormones, they are secreted by the pituitary gland. Now if we move towards down, then neck region, this is a neck region. ये neck region में the one gland is there which we talked about is thyroid gland, and this thyroid gland secrete thyroxine, and the function of the thyroxine is to produce to regulate the metabolism of nutrients. Then just on the other side of this thyroid gland, there is another gland which are known as the parathyroid glands. There are 4 parathyroid glands are there. So 3 these gland, 4th is thyroid gland, 5th is parathyroid gland. So parathyroid glands and the thyroid glands, they are situated in the neck region. Now if we move further down, then just above the heart के ऊपर one gland is there which is known as a thymus gland. So this thymus gland is also an endocrine gland which secrete a hormone thymosin. Again, this hormone is not in your course. So but you have to remember the location and name of these endocrine gland. So this thymus gland is a 6th gland. Then if we move further down, then there is a gland just near the small intestine which is known as a pancreas, about which we talked about that pancreas it secretes insulin, which is an hormone, and the function of insulin is it regulates the blood sugar level. So this pancreas, which is situated just near the small intestine, is again a endocrine gland. Then we talked about the adrenal gland, that is just above the kidney. This is a kidney. Above the kidney, a small triangular gland is there, which is known as an adrenal gland, and the function of the adrenal gland is to secrete adrenaline, which is also known as emergency hormone. It is also known as flight or fight hormones, and this hormone is secreted in emergency condition. Okay, so then these are the ovaries in the female. Ovaries secrete estrogen and progesterone. Okay, and the testes in the male, they secrete testosterone. So in totality, if you see, अगर तुम count करो ये सारी, तो there are 10 endocrine glands. 3 endocrine glands in the brain, 4th is thyroid gland, 5th is parathyroid gland, 6th is thymus gland, 7th is pancreas, 8th is adrenal glands, 9th is ovaries in the female, and the 10th is the testes in the male. All these are endocrine glands. Okay. Now these endocrine glands secrete hormones as and when it is required by the body. Now these endocrine glands, they work by a feedback mechanism. What is the meaning of feedback mechanism? These hormones are released as and when required. For example, if in our blood the sugar level increases, then the cells of the pancreas, they can detect that sugar level is down, so they start producing more insulin. And when this insulin bring down the blood sugar level, then the secretion of the insulin is reduced. So these hormones are secreted in an appropriate quantity by a mechanism known as feedback mechanism. Okay. Now in my last slide, I will show you the diagrams. This is a goiter. We talked about the goiter. Like neck region mein, there is a gland which is known as a thyroid gland, and this thyroid gland secrete a hormone thyroxine. For this thyroxine, iodine is essential. Suppose this thyroxine is not produced in a sufficient amount by the gland, then the swelling of this thyroid gland takes place in the neck region, which is known as an goiter. And this is just to show you dwarfism and the giantism. So which hormones are responsible for dwarfism and the giantism? They are the growth hormones, and these growth hormones are produced by the pituitary gland. Location of the pituitary gland is, it is present into the brain. So remember these 10 endocrine glands, the name of these 10 endocrine glands, the location of these 10 endocrine glands, and the detail of 4 endocrine glands and their hormones, which is there in your course. One is adrenal gland, which secrete adrenaline, thyroid gland, which secrete thyroxine, then pituitary gland, which secrete the growth hormones, then the pancreas, which secrete the insulin. Okay. With this, chapter number 7 is been completed. We'll talk about, or we'll start the next chapter, that is chapter number 8 in my next lecture. Thank you, students.